Imagine that you are cooped up in the smallest possible space. A little tiny wooden world, maybe it's 10 feet across by 20 feet deep. Maybe you're kind of squished into a much smaller spot than that. Occasionally, you get to go outside into the fresh air, maybe for a couple of hours a day. If you're lucky, if the weather isn't good, you can't go out at all. You're fed with a very, very monotonous, plain, maybe unpalatable diet for weeks on end. We're talking 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks, depends on just how bad the weather is outside. And you don't know what's going to happen at the end. There's the story of thousands upon thousands of people that come to the New World in the 18th century. They come to North America. And all through the 17th and 18th century, people are traveling. And basically, the only way to get to the New World is through this means of transportation. You're locked up on board ship. You are in an unknown territory because, of course, you're not a sailor. You don't know what's going on with the handling of the ship. You go into storms. You think you're going to die. You definitely are going to die. There's so many very, very interesting accounts about people as they're traveling. Sometimes they don't mention it at all, and other times it is a harrowing journey. They're cooped up, under decks in the ship. Sometimes, if you're traveling very inexpensively, you are in just wretched conditions. Very, very difficult. And of course, we can't forget that other people are traveling to the New World involuntarily. Enslaved Africans in the worst possible inhumane conditions. People that are traveling as prisoners that are being transported. So they are being transported in very, very poor conditions. But even people who pay good money are still in just the worst possible situation. So you're cooped up on board ship, and you don't know how long this journey is going to take. You might have an easy trip and it's only 8 weeks, or even a little bit shorter than that. But it might be 3 months on the ocean, and your supplies are running low, and you don't have anything to eat, and the water to drink is green and fuzzy and just unimaginable that anybody today would drink water like that. So all these folks that are coming over to the New World have to endure these just immensely terrible conditions that make anything that we survive today seem just inconsequential. Bathroom supplies, we're not even going to discuss that, are we? We don't even want to know. And what happens when you get to the New World? What happens to you when you finally do arrive on shore and you are at that, where basically your old life stops and your new life begins? What kind of expectations did people have for their adventure in the New World? That is a tricky question to answer, and but on the other side of this very, very difficult time, there were many people that had very difficult expectations. If you could not afford your passage and you wanted to come to North America, you basically sold yourself into servitude for the unknown future. 7 years, sometimes as little as 5 years, 4 years, even 3 years if you were a very, very talented person and you arranged this beforehand. But many times, 7 years of servitude. You had to do what somebody else said. You were supplied with your food and your clothing. Little, nice, good, whatever it was, you didn't really have a choice. You had to do what they said. That was your lot in life, and if you tried to get away from that, you would be arrested and brought back, and more time to serve. That is, imagine going through those original circumstances and then expecting after you get done with 7 years of servitude. And even that was difficult because many people who came to the New World, they were very, very susceptible to disease, especially that first year after they got there, because what's happening in the New World is a whole new set of diseases that are running around. And so the people that from Europe that came over were very susceptible that first year, and there was a lot of dying of disease. So, boy, one thing after another. You had the most horrible trip, the worst kinds of foods and supplies things you weren't used to, you get to a new world, you might have to serve, even if you aren't an indentured servant, you have difficult situations. Everything's new, everything is different and weird, and the food is strange, but they did it anyway. So many folks, other than the enslaved Africans and the transported convicts, they chose one way or the other to undergo this situation because of what they believed to be on the other side. Either what they were leaving was you just couldn't live through it. That was their last throw of the dice. This is the last thing I can do to survive. Or they knew that there was something even better on the other side. They had expectations of great difficulties, but they also had expectations of good things on the other side, or else they wouldn't have undergone the situation in the first place, would they? So they may have had good expectations for their life in the New World and the great difficulties that they were going to have, but they expected good things. But they also, there was also a sense that they were willing to even expect bad, difficult times for their entire lifetime, expecting good things for future generations, for their children or their children's children, knowing that this world that they had embarked upon was one that, might take generations to come to fruition. And, that's certainly true. They certainly built an amazing new world. And there's again just amazing things to learn from the wrong things, the bad decisions they made, the way they didn't build the world like they should have, and the good things to learn. And we have to study both of those things, even in our own lifetimes. We make great mistakes, and then sometimes we make great decisions. We have to kind of look back on those things and say, okay, did we do it right? Did we do it wrong? How are we going to do it again? Or how would we do it again? How would we make it better? I love digging into the 18th century because of the amazing parallels and the things that we can learn today. And, it always puts our world into an amazing perspective, and sometimes has amazing parallels that we may have never considered before. I want to thank you for joining me today on this little adventure in just digging back and just thinking about what it was like 200 years ago, 300 years ago, what their situation was like, and how similar and how different it is. Always so much to learn. Thanks for joining me today, and I hope you have a great week.